Hi, everybody. I'm Mike Gleason, and welcome as ESPN Classic presents Game 6 of the 1983 NBA Western Conference Finals between the Los Angeles Lakers and San Antonio Spurs. The series is a rematch of the 1982 Western Final. But after being swept last spring by the eventual NBA champs, the Spurs were a more formidable foe this time around, thanks to the acquisition of 7-footer Artis Gilmore. Through the first 5 games, the Spurs-Lakers series has been wildly unpredictable. Only in Game 1, a 119-107 Lakers win at the Forum, has the home team come out on top. A hard-fought series has produced some unlikely heroes, like San Antonio's Mike Mitchell, who averaged 27 points a game through the first 5 games of the series. With more on how the teams match up, here's the Iceman, Spurs guard George Gervin.
I always felt we can beat the Lakers. I think they respected us well enough to know that they couldn't come in and just walk over us. I think with the acquisition of Artis, it gave us a better opportunity to have somebody play that big fella, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, in the middle. And, I really loved it when Artis was playing with us. I think Mike Mitchell played a major role in that particular season. He was our power forward. He had a great turnaround jumper. Johnny Moore was our point guard. He was the guy that was stripping the ball. You had to have somebody who understood, what we had on the floor with me and Mike Mitchell, because, both of us can put the ball in the basket. So he had some tough decisions to who to get the ball to.
Dr. J and the Sixers would face the winner in the finals. Later, we'll profile the Lakers' efforts to become the NBA's first repeat champion since the Celtics in 1968 and 69. But now, stay tuned for the 6th game of the 1983 Western Conference Finals between the Spurs and the Lakers on ESPN Classic.
Welcome to the Hemisphere Arena in San Antonio, Texas. This crowd does not want the season to end tonight. The Spurs must beat the Lakers to stay alive and send the series to a 7th and deciding game. It has been a playoff, underscored at times by a classic duel of 7-footers. The Lakers, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar at one end, and the Spurs' Artis Gilmore at the other end. The exciting forays of the Lakers' Magic Johnson and his pinpoint passing skill. And the uncanny, unstoppable scoring of the Spurs' Mike Mitchell. More than 1,000 fans were on hand to welcome the Spurs home after Game 5. And now they're primed for game number 6. So from San Antonio, it's the Western Conference Final, the Lakers against the Spurs. Quickly, let's go to the starting lineups for this 6th game, starting with the forwards. Kurt Rambis of the Lakers, Mike Mitchell of the Spurs, who just was with Pat O'Brien. The forward guard matchup, Jamal Wilkes of LA, George Gervin of San Antonio. The 2 great centers, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Artis Gilmore. The guards who have done so well, Norm Nixon and Johnny Moore in particular for San Antonio. And the Magic Man, Irvin Johnson and Gene Banks. The officials, Darrell Garretson and Hugh Evans with Jack Madden, the alternate, and we're set to go. The Lakers are in their traveling purple uniforms, or forum blue as they like to call it, and there's Artis Gilmore, San Antonio in white with black and silver. Magic Johnson goes to Wilkes, who loses the ball. Johnny Moore, double O. Johnny Moore, 23 points and 3 for 3 from the 3-point territory in Game 5.
As the game progresses, Dick, Johnny Moore must be the most disciplined of all the Spurs, because he must run the offense, and he must not resist. He must resist temptation and not take off by himself and start trying to drive inside. He's got to be disciplined more than any other guys on the Spurs team.
Kareem with the tying points. George Gervin, the Gilmore who loses it. Tapped up by Rambis and Norm Nixon. Rambis on a fine pass inside. Magic Johnson, who had 19 assists on Wednesday night to tie a Laker playoff record held by Nixon and Jerry West. You can expect to see Banks with the ball a lot in this game, Russ. Here's Johnny Moore driving.
Now, the key guy for the Lakers who must have a good game is Norm Nixon. Not only must he be point guard sometimes, but he's got to find his missing jump shot.
Kareem goes inside. The basket counts and a foul. So there was an inside move by Abdul-Jabbar, and the Lakers are going to him early.
In this confrontation between Art Gilmore and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Gilmore must not let it get to be a personal thing that he must match Jabbar point for point, because they do two different things for their team, and he must always keep that in mind. He didn't want to let Jabbar get off, but he can't let it get so that he has to try to match Jabbar basket for basket, because then he's not doing what he does for his team, but he's doing what Jabbar wants him to do. Abdul-Jabbar, that is.
Don't turn it into a personal crusade. Banks, and there's Mike Mitchell. Wilkes gets it out to Johnson, and Rambis and Nixon are down court. Let's see what Magic does with it. Nixon. Moore. Nixon is guarding Johnny Moore, who penetrates inside, and a foul is called. It'll be against the Lakers. Norm Nixon, and the first LA foul of the game. Gilmore had committed the first foul for San Antonio. Banks into Mitchell. Kareem fouls.
Now, what the Spurs are trying to do at this point is to spread their offense and run it, because they want to exploit the fact that Magic Johnson roams all over the court, and they want to exploit that situation. That's what they're trying to do right now.
And by getting the ball in the hands of Gene Banks more, they are doing that because they're forcing Magic Johnson to guard Banks. That was off the leg. And it's Los Angeles ball. Just over 2 minutes gone by first period. We're in game 6. Moore got a hand on it. Kareem back with it. A rare jump shot by Abdul-Jabbar, who is red hot, and he's 3 for 3 for 7 points so far. He has 7 of the 9 Laker points. Rambis has not been a big factor in this game. They've called an illegal defense against Los Angeles. And I believe it was Jamal Wilkes who was caught not guarding someone. Normally it's...
Well, he was standing next to Art Gilmore. That's not good. They don't believe that.
I guess so. He was standing when they blew the whistle. Darrell Garrettson called it. Next time it'll be a technical. This is only a warning. 5-point lead for the Lakers. George Gervin loses it. Here comes LA. 4 on 3. Wilkes steps. Turnover to San Antonio. Pat Riley, who did not want to see a 6th game, now all he's looking for is a Laker victory no matter how they do it. Gilmore off the offensive glass. What ruined the Lakers in game 5 were the second shots as well as the turnover. They're going to call a jump ball as Gervin ties up Jamal Wilkes. But we'll have to watch the offensive rebounds, where San Antonio had a 21-13 edge Wednesday. Gervin and Wilkes. Rambis. Wilkes misses, and Johnson gets the offensive rebound. Working against Moore is Norman Nixon. Pat Riley told us today we need Norman Nixon to sharpen his shooting skills. The Lakers still have it. And another outside shot by Kareem. He's pulling a Moses Malone so far.
Oh, I think he'd say, I'd rather think that was a Kareem shot.
I know, but we've seen Moses in the recent playoffs start to go outside more and hit those shots.
The reason that I'd say that is because he's much older than Moses.
Yes, and you would know that. Gervin misses inside, and Mike Mitchell is Johnny on the spot. 11-8, the Lakers lead, 8:15 to go first period. Into Kareem. Stripped away. Mitchell had a hand in it, and Gervin comes up with it. And Banks. This is the easy layup. Alback wants his team to get back in a hurry on defense, and Wilkes goes in with the layup.
He gave the defense 3 moves on that one. It looks like almost like he was taking steps, but he was giving some just frozen at the other spot.
One was a fake pass to Kareem. Banks makes it in. Gene Banks, who has been playing despite a sprained ankle and had 10 rebounds and 16 points on Wednesday, as the Lakers still have the ball. But we mentioned Earvin Magic Johnson. They want to make sure he guards someone, so Banks, his man, will handle the ball a lot. And also, they'll give Magic the outside shot. They don't want to guard him too closely and have him drive in and dish it off. Here's Norman Nixon. Nixon's first basket of the game.
On the defensive boards for Los Angeles, two guys must do a better job rebounding for them. Magic Johnson and Jamal Wilkes. Now, why would I leave Kareem out? The reason that is, Kareem is the anchor of their defense, and the way they play defense, he is out of position to rebound a great deal of the time.
Good shooting so far. The foul was on Norman Nixon, his second personal foul, and the third team foul against the Lakers. And Jamal Wilkes anticipated the pass to Gervin inside beautifully. 4 on 3. Double team on Wilkes. Magic wants to set it up. Norman Nixon hit his last shot. Gilmore. And Johnny Moore inside. Reverse layup is good. 6 points for Johnny Moore. He has half of the San Antonio total.
Outstanding move, because he came to the jump stop, and he could have shot that ball in any of 3 places before he got to the basket, in front, or reverse like he did.
10 seconds on the shot clock. Kareem has 9 points already. Double team. Plenty of room for Jamal Wilkes. He's better when he doesn't have much time to shoot, it seems. Nixon drives. And here come the Spurs. Trying to come within 1 point. Johnny Moore. And now the Lakers have a 3-4 on 2. Kareem was down. Magic to Wilkes. And you're not going to stop that fast break too often.
Especially with those two guys. They have such chemistry. The last time I've seen that kind of chemistry was with Bob Cousy and Tommy Heinsohn. Cousy knew that Heinsohn would run through a brick wall to get a layup.
And Wilkes does the same thing with Magic Johnson. 5:49 remaining first period. Dick Stockton and Bill Russell. Game 6 from the hemisphere in San Antonio. Gilmore with a fine pass inside, and Banks' second effort. No basket.
Now here's a fast break working here. There's Johnny Moore. Jump stop. Goes right to the baseline, right there. Reverses.
And all Magic could do is just watch. Moore handled it well. He has 6. Kareem has 9. And it's a 5-point
ball around, and then bringing Gene Banks out here. And Magic has to follow him. What they want to do is keep Magic busy on it. If his man's handling the ball, then he can't help out so much like he's doing right here. So that way Gene Banks gets the ball back. And this is what they're trying to do, deliberately set it up so that he handles the ball as a passer and a receiver.
5:41 remaining in the first period. Wilkes committing the foul, his first and the 4th team foul against the Lakers. We're at the Hemisphere Arena in San Antonio. Dick Stockton and Bill Russell on CBS, the home of the NBA championship. And that's going to be coming up either Sunday for game 1 or next Thursday, depending on the result of this game. The Lakers have 14 fouls to only 1 for the Spurs.
You've got to have a lot of guts to wear that, I'll tell you that.
The Lakers won 4 straight on this floor, trying to be the first team to repeat world champions in 14 years since Bill Russell's Celtics back in '69. Earvin Magic Johnson with those 19 assists. He's averaged over 20 points in the series. And now Gene Banks on the line.
I was talking to Gene Banks in practice today, and he said he was a little kid. His father used to take him out to watch us play. So he didn't like basketball, but his father used to go out and play and work out with him so much and take him to all the games and things that he started liking it. I'm glad he did. He's a great player now.
And it's kind of rare for someone not to want to play basketball. He's from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and was a star at Duke University. San Antonio using some of the trap that the Lakers use on them. Off the hands of Kareem. That's the 4th turnover. They're even, 4-4. 5:20 remaining in the first period. 17-13 LA. Spurs' only lead was the first basket of the game, and another turnover, the 5th. Michael Cooper, number 21, is into the ball game. Kareem goes up and is fouled. Not a foul. It was knocked out of bounds. It is still Laker ball. So Michael Cooper is into the game, replacing Norm Nixon. The Lakers don't look that fluid yet in this game.
Well, they haven't been able to get those fast break baskets they like to get. When you see Kareem getting a lot of shots in the first quarter, that means that they're not running their offense very well, and he's being their safety valve.
He has 9 points. Johnny Moore. Kareem the rebound. Outlet to Michael Cooper, and it's a little bit too extended, and so Gervin has it back. We have a lot of turnovers so far in this game. 5 apiece, with 4:28 to go in the first period. George Gervin.
You think George didn't know that Kareem would be coming after that?
Cooper drives in, tipped up, missed, and tipped up and in by Wilkes. Jamal Wilkes on the second tip attempt for the Lakers, who are up by 4.
And Kareem is doing a better job tonight so far hitting the offensive board.
Thanks. Mitchell, missed connection.
Because they had to play because the weak side did not react. And I think that was Kareem on that one. So that pass would have been okay if he could have caught it.
Bob McAdoo, who's moved up to 3rd in rebounding on the Lakers and averaging over 10 points a game. He had 12 points Wednesday and 7 boards. Is into the ball game now. He replaces Kurt Rambis.
He's the only guy on the court who's not tired. He hasn't played but a 4th of the season.
Here's Kareem again with a sky hook from the baseline. So Abdul-Jabbar with 11 points on 5 for 6 shooting.
And Gilmore has to be careful that he doesn't get disappointed or get down because Kareem is off to such a good start.
This is the biggest lead the Lakers have enjoyed. Gervin. On Wednesday night, San Antonio had 4 players with 20 or more points. And of those 4, the lowest output was by George Gervin, who had 20 points. Into Wilkes. Good inside defense by San Antonio. Trying to come with it 2 now. Gilmore.
Now that's one of those shots that artists needed. You know, each player has a certain amount of psychological need for shots. He needed that one. It's a good thing he made it.
Inside, there they are again. Magic Johnson to Jamal Wilkes. We've seen it 1,000 times, and it looks so impressive every time you see it. 2:40 remaining first period. Gervin driving around McAdoo. He runs into Magic Johnson out of bounds. San Antonio ball. And we'll have a timeout called for by the Lakers with 2:36 to go in the first period. LA leading 23-19.
And it's going to be a nice long evening because
wins in the series, and if you think that's unusual, it is not. In fact, as recently as 2 years ago, the Spurs lost 3 to the Houston Rockets. But look at what Boston has done in that time. In fact, Bill Russell's Celtics beat the 76ers 3 times in Philadelphia, both in '68 and in '69. And the only championship series that happened were the Boston-Milwaukee series and way back when Minneapolis played the New York Knicks. These are the baseline bums. They were the bleacher bums at minor league baseball here in San Antonio many years ago, and they switched over to the NBA.
a lot more excitement here.
Well, I think that you got the best excitement anywhere in NBA, particularly around playoff time. San Antonio inbounding with 2:36 remaining in the first period, and Mike Mitchell from the corner. There he goes again. He's been the high scorer in 4 of the 5 games for San Antonio, including Wednesday night when he had 26. Two-point lead for LA. McAdoo using a Kareem screen. 8 seconds on the shot clock, and Michael Cooper misses the shot. Wilkes is doing a fine job inside. We'll see who tipped that ball in. It was Wilkes who has 10.
That's because he's one of the guys that I said earlier that it has to go to the offensive board and the defensive board. He's got to do a better job of rebounding.
10
and he's
points.
doing it so far. I'm sorry, Dave.
10 points and 3 assists for Jamal Wilkes. He is figured in 16 of the 25 for the Lakers. And here's Earvin Magic Johnson, the team's leading rebounder, to Cooper. And Gilmore Got the rebound away this time. It's a 3-on-2. Banks blocked by Kareem. Gets it to Johnson. And that's Cooper. And Michael Cooper gives the Lakers a 6-point lead, and the crowd thought it was a charge. Moore given the shot by Abdul-Jabbar. Misses. Gets the rebound. Good hustle by Johnny Moore, who's playing with a bruised calf. Burton with a drive inside. All 5 San Antonio starters are in the scoring column.
And the game is getting a little rough. They haven't called a lot of this stuff under the basket. And we'll have to watch and see what develops, because players will get mad at each other. If the referees don't get mad at the referees, they get mad at each other.
Right. McAdoo with a 6-point lead now for Los Angeles. Matches the biggest lead of the game. Moore working around Cooper, and the foul is on Michael. That's the 15th foul against the Lakers. It's their penalty now. And let's watch Michael Cooper at the other side as Edgar Jones checks in for San Antonio. Jones is in the game, replacing Banks.
You know, in the foul situation, a lot of the people in San Antonio were citing the number of free throws. And that was contact there. That was a foul on somebody. It wasn't me either. But as I was saying, that San Antonio was citing the fact that the Lakers had normally been shooting a lot more free throws. But they play different styles. That will happen because of the way they play.
Right.
But one thing is important in the foul situation. If the Lakers get into personal foul problems, it hurts them much more than if one of the San Antonio guys did, because the Lakers only play 7 guys. And so foul trouble really makes a change for them.
Mitchell. And Mike Mitchell on the turnover, and it's 29-26 now with 20 seconds to go, 21.
And there's another collision that was a foul committed.
All right, that's 2 you pointed out, and in game number 4, Cooper and Banks got into it, and they were both ejected from the game. 10 seconds to go in the first period. McAdoo is fouled. Edgar Jones fouls McAdoo. What? No foul called at the other end with a few players scattered, Russ.
Yeah, now here's a play where Mitchell goes in. Now the foul is either, there's McAdoo standing there, and it's either McAdoo or, now watch it, it looks like a bowling alley.
3 seconds to go. Edgar Jones has it. And that'll do it for the end of the first period. The Lakers 29, the Spurs 26. And we'll return to the Hemisphere Arena after these messages and a word from your local station.
Latest of alterations. Not Pat Riley's Lakers. With the first overall pick in 1982, the NBA champion Lakers added North Carolina.